Anyways, Leo, sorry, James, what were you saying about the 1 in 7? Did you do the math on that or something?
Well, hopefully my math is right. I'm starting to question it, but I mean, I think for 7 people consecutively for this to happen, if it's 1 in 100, it should, for the chances of that to happen, it would be, you 99 times 99 to the power of 7, right?
I'm not 100% on that. It's been a long time since I've done probability math.
Alright.
I'll take your word for it.
So for 2 people of 1% to have it consecutively, that's about 1 in 10,000 for 2 people to consecutively have this problem if it's 1%, right?
Okay. So far your logic's driving.
So it kind of makes sense. So for 7 people to have it consecutively, it's like it's 1 in 9 trillion.
So basically, by Steve Jobs' logic, more than the number of people on the planet. But this is a non-issue. That's like.
It's just that it's happening consecutively. The chances of that there should be 1 in every 100. But if for 7 people it's consecutively to happen, I mean, you have to take into account he knows a lot of people, there's a big city, but it's still pretty darn astronomically, even with all those things taken. For 7 people to know it, it's got to be more than 1%.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's my experience with the people I know who went and bought iPhone 4s. It's just not, it's not, okay, most of them aren't having any problems. They're all having problems. So, it's this Apple spin on it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sure it will start to die down now because they've addressed the issue by giving the free bumpers. But it's one of those things, I'm not necessarily sure it was the smartest thing on Apple's part to sit there and spend 30 minutes going, nanny, nanny, boo-boo, this isn't an issue, it's not our fault, nobody's suffering this problem, it's you people in the media taking the 1 out of 100 and grandstanding because you like a story. It was one of those that's just, I'm not sure that's the best way to handle this when you need these people to go tell everyone you fixed the problem. They're doing it.
If they had just done the bumpers and the refunds, I would have said Apple was completely in agreement with that thing.
I would have, yeah. If Steve had come out there and said, we're not perfect. Which he did say at one point. He said, we're not perfect, our phones aren't perfect, everybody's expecting us to be perfect. I wonder why. You sell us on this whole marketing campaign of the iWorld, and you're infallible, and everything's white and shiny and perfect in the iWorld. and then you do this.
That's the problem that I have with Apple. When they're going out and supposedly humbling themselves, what they're actually saying is we're only this much better than you.
Yes.
Not human.
Well, and it's questionable whether they're that much better.
Well, if I could interject.
Go ahead. Feel free to jump in anytime, man.
Okay, so if anyone watching this is good at math, I'm pretty sure I was a little bit off with that, although it's still probably pretty low chance. So if anyone here is good at math, likes a challenge, wants to help.
You know what? Actually, that's a challenge for you, because I'm sure somebody watching this is in college taking some kind of a statistics or probability class. In the forum down there, if you can, put the actual X formula for probability of figuring out the 1 in blank odds of encountering 7 consecutive people when according to Steve Jobs' statistics here, it's less than 1 in 100 supposedly suffering this issue.
0.55% for an exact number, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's his exact number he gave, and then he said for the drop calls is less than 1. So it's somewhere, according to the Steve Jobs fancy numbers, between 0.55% and 1%. So somewhere between 1 in 200 and 1 in 100 people are supposedly who's suffering this problem. I think we all know it's a hell of a lot more than that. But that was the impression they were trying to give with those statistics. It's like, and like you were saying, Leo, if they had, what Apple needed to do here was they needed not to be Apple, and Steve Jobs needed not to be Steve Jobs, which I know is painfully hard for both of them.
Way too much.
Yeah. I know that would be painfully hard for both of them. But if Steve Jobs could have not been Steve Jobs and just got up there and go, we screwed up, not try and put a spin on it, not try and go, this is a problem, but it isn't our fault. It's y'all's fault. Y'all made it into a bigger issue than it is. You hadn't done that. You just got up there, we screwed up, we care about our users, we're addressing the problem. In the meantime, we're giving away free bumpers, we're allowing returns until September, at which point we hope to have this fixed and we'll see. It's like if they just said that, they go, and now we'll take questions. Like it's real simply, it's basically not drone on for 30 minutes about explaining why everybody does this. It's not just us, you're picking on us. It's not, and it's not our fault. It's the laws of physics. We can't change them, Captain. We cannot change the laws of physics. If they thought, because all they've done, we're still talking about this. That's why I'm going to talk about it with Mr. Bitt. This is going to become one of those things that I think for the next few months, you're going to have, we'll be done with it this week, but I think for the next few months, the diehard I hate apples and the diehard Apple is perfect fanboys are going to be fighting over this issue, even though it's been fixed now, because of the rubbing salt in the wound Steve Jobs did Friday. And like you said, Wim didn't take kindly to them being picked on. I don't know if Samsung's had a response yet, but it's one of those things. I don't think the full backfire from that is finished coming out of the internet yet. It was really funny. Usually when Apple makes an announcement and fixes stuff, the news falls in love with it and all of a sudden they love Apple again. And while there's a little bit of that going on, it was really interesting to watch the spin that the news put on the report of Apple giving free bumpers. You could tell that the media was a little offended that they'd been basically blamed for this. It wasn't, Apple has fixed the problem. It was, Apple's giving away free bumpers, but will that fix your problem? And that's unheard of for the media to treat Apple like that. It's like, I don't think the full long-term effect of that has really been appreciated yet. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
I know that Sprint has responded as well. The link is Gizmodo one, so that probably won't sit well with Vanish's boys, but I'm looking for it right now for you, just so you know.
Okay, we'll try and put that in the show notes. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A. James, you might want to pull up the Apple folder from Google Docs, because I have all the Q&As they went through here.
Q&A?
But no, it's the Apple conference file.
Right here. I got it.
Yeah, Leo, you have that up?
Yeah, I'm on it right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yada. It's like, I guarantee Steve Jobs had to be pissed at this question. When somebody asked him how his health was. That's just, but let's get into this on. I love the one, like you were saying, Leo, about the I can't do the death grip here, and it's the undertone here of the AT&T versus Verizon stuff. And there's a little war brewing here. You can tell Apple is no longer being nice to AT&T at all. When at their press conference they'll go, we have an AT&T and a Verizon tower here. And that's related to another question here, which is basically, and I'm not saying he did this knowingly. Crap, we're up on time. But at one point here, one of the questions Steve Jobs was asked, you know what, we're just going to go into this the next part. Hang on.